Now, I'm going to flip ahead for a second just to show you something. The Hanged Man card, what are the legs doing?
Same thing.
Same thing upside down. So these two cards interrelate. They actually have a conversation going on. So this is the just, powerful, noble, generous ruler that wants to be fair. And this is the ruler who's being suffering and sacrificed. So now the 4 is topsy-turvy. It's turned upside down. Okay? So it's destabilized. So the power is destabilized. Okay? This is clear power. This is power destabilized. Okay? So then again, you've got the shield, and you've got the shield again with the 2 eagles, which again is the clear-sighted vision and power and authority. You've got big coins, you know, which is for, again, money and influence. You've got a very sharp pointed crown on his head. You've got this very ornate outfit that's around him, and you've got him holding the ball, which is the world, you know, which is always the universal symbol of power, you know, so it's like holding that orb of power. And again, you've got the fleur-de-lis everywhere. So if somebody pulls this card, they are learning the rules of power, family, the rules of the home. They might be reevaluating the rules of the home, because sometimes you could have been given a bad set of rules. You know, like you could have had a father that was an alcoholic and out of control and not working and not paying attention. And so then you have to find your own home. You know, you have to find your own grounding, your own first chakra. So what you find is people who have been abused oftentimes have a fractured lower chakra. So they don't have grounding. They don't have good grounding. They don't know what to do. So they're oftentimes trying to find home. And at first you try to find home in other people, which never really works. And then you find that you have to develop your own home. You actually have to develop your own grounding, your own stability. And so some people do that through exercise and physical stuff. Some people do it through manifestation of money, and that money to them is everything, and that they feel safe and secure when they have a lot of money. But it's about, like, what do you need to do to create home? Where is your lower chakra? What is your base? Do you feel like you have a base? Are you depending on other people for your base, or do you feel secure within yourself? Okay, so think of King Arthur again. King Arthur had a round table. He really wanted to hear your opinion, okay? But ultimately it was his choice, because he's the boss, right? But he really wanted to hear. So in the perfect masculine, it's that, you know, I really do want to hear what your opinions are, and I do have to make the final decision, but I'm going to consider all of you to the best of my capacity. But there are some moments that you can't please all the people all the time, and you still have to make a decision. And you have to make the best decision you possibly can based on the circumstances and the information that you've got. Okay, and that's having a good base chakra. Okay? So, then if we flip to the next card.
Just before we go, why bees on his clothing?
Oh, good question. Great question. The bees on his clothing represent abundance. So bees represent royalty and honey, and the busyness of the bees in the hive, and that the hive is all working around the queen bee, you know, in this case the king bee, but it represents power and authority. So in ancient shields, there were a lot of bee symbols in England on their shields and things, because in ancient times, the only sweets that they had in cold climates was honey.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so they didn't have access to sugar. So it was honey and molasses were the two things that you could make something sweet out of. Okay. All right, and so then you've got the symbol, the next one, which is the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant is a great card because notice there's a color change again. So what do you notice about this one?
It's black.
Dark. It's dark. Notice lots of earth tones, lots of earth energy. So notice at the very, very bottom next to the words the Hierophant is the symbol of Taurus. Okay, so it's all earthy. So we're dealing with an earth card, an earth energy, a grounded energy. And this, the little guy, the guy with the pointy hat, represents the Pope. So the Pope always wears this pointy hat. So again, noticing a Christian symbol. So what's the Pope? He is the head of Catholic Church. So he is the spiritual authority. He's the dude, okay? So this represents the spiritual father. So the people who hold powers of spiritual authority over you. Now what I love about what Aleister Crowley did with this is that, notice Isis is at the bottom at his feet. She's holding a waning moon in her hand, which means the moon is darkening, which means the feminine light is going out. Isis is made small, so the Pope is made big and powerful, but the Isis is made small. So it's the suppression of the feminine. That Christian religions, like the Cathars, recognize that Christian religions suppress the feminine. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so and so she's holding the sword of truth, and it's pointed down, but you know, nobody can really see it. It's like, you know, the feminine is holding the truth. She's holding the sword of truth, you know, but it's so suppressed, and it's in all the energy's pointing down that she's kind of become innocuous, you know, that she doesn't have any power over anything at this point, because now you've got this powerful masculine patriarchal energy that's completely in control. Then what you've got is that, again, in Christianity, you've got a child in the heart, because in Christianity they say, and the children shall lead, right? The children shall lead. So it's that innocence, trusting, compassionate, childlike place, okay? Notice there's he's using the symbol like this, which is a symbol of peace, okay? And then you've got his staff, which is 3 circles. Now what's really interesting about the staff of 3 circles is that these 3 circles interlocked like this was considered the oldest symbol, universal symbol of all time. It actually predates the cross. The cross is the 2nd oldest symbol, actually. But this is the feminine. It represents the matriarchal systems and cultures. So he's taken the staff of the feminine. He's holding the staff of the feminine as his own. So Christianity went and took the mother, the father, and the child, and they turned it into the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Totally took out the feminine, completely out of it, which is really interesting. So, and really the 3 circles represented the Virgin, the Mother, and the Crone. It represented the 3 cycles of the feminine, that every woman is the Virgin, the Mother, and the Crone. Okay? So now he's got the power, so he's holding the feminine power, but she's holding the power of truth. She's holding the sword of truth. So it's this incredible, take a look at the reality for a second, you know, like, oops, there's an imbalance going on here, and he's done it all in symbolism, which is absolutely brilliant. Then what you've got is you've got the different symbols and the different gods. Think of it as gods. So you've got the symbol of the bull, and so again at Moses, remember Moses went to the mountain and he came back and they were worshiping what?
The cow.
The golden cow, okay? So it represents our belief systems, you know. Well, now we believe in a golden cow. And then you've got the symbol of the elephant, and the elephant is the sign in Hinduism of
Ganesh.
Ganesh. What is Ganesh in charge of?
Obstacles.
Yes, remover of obstacles and suffering, okay? And so then also notice that you've got the 4 winds. The corners with these different animals are the 4 winds. They're called the cherubim, however you say this word. So notice one is a bull, okay, which is earth energy. One is a bird, which is air energy. One is a human, which represents the mental energy, the air energy. And then one is this weird kind of creature, which represents the water element. And so it's kind of this weird kind of watery, weird creature down below. Above the Pope's head, around the Pope's head, is a stained glass window like at Notre Dame, okay? And so it's this beautiful window, and so light is coming in, but notice what's around the window. A snake, okay? But notice the snake is dead, and it's being pierced by daggers. It's stuck to the window, okay? So again, the life force energy, the quest of knowledge is being killed by religion. Okay, so in the old days, unless you wanted to be a monk or a priest or something, you weren't allowed to learn language in the ancient times. Like the only way to learn a language was to, you know, become only the educated people were religious people, okay? So they really squished the quest of knowledge. They really limited and restricted the quest of knowledge. Even to this day, the Vatican is still holding a lot of information in their vaults and in their libraries that they don't really want you to know about, okay? So here are these daggers. So here's this window, which is this beautiful window, but it's actually, you know, pierced by this snake, you know, so it's like, you know, knowledge, the quest of knowledge, like you're supposed to have blind faith, right? Not supposed to question anything. You're just supposed to have blind faith, okay? So when you get this card, this represents the spiritual father. In a baby's evolution and development again, so, you know, the baby is born as all innocent and, you know, it learns communication and then it, you know, it learns about love and nurturing and then it learns about the rules of the family and then it learns about the spiritual rules. Now you have to remember the rules of society in ancient times when the Tarot was created was religion. The government was the Catholic Church to the Cathars, right? So you have to remember how this is translated, okay? So in ancient cultures, the religion and government were completely interconnected. Now in America, we have the separation of church and state, which is a little iffy, but we do have that separation. But this is showing that there's rules of a society. So when someone pulls this card, they are trying to look at the rules of society or their beliefs about society. And there are rules of society. You cannot lie, cheat, sneak, and kill people, right? There's rules. You know, there's consequences to those rules. If you break a law, you're going to go to jail. You know, there's rules, and you have to follow those rules. And as a soul develops, you know, you can't just go willy-nilly running around. I mean, you have to have rules, for goodness sakes, right? So, but these can be how you interpret those rules too. So these can be about, I'll use myself as an example. I was raised Catholic, and so, you know, there were some big moral rules in the Catholic Church. And so, you know, if you do anything that's not right, you're damned to hell, right? So, you know, as I got older, I had to say, am I really damned to hell? Like, you know, again, I had to do that quest of knowledge again of the snakes. I have to get those snakes off the daggers, you know, I mean, it's like I have to say, okay, I can blindly believe something, or I can seek out what's true for me and reevaluate those truths and find the value in those truths for myself. So, but at first, you know, when you get this card, it's like, okay, I have these rules in my head that I learned when I was a child. Do those even apply anymore? Are those true anymore? I mean, they're good when you're a kid, I mean, to kind of say, you know, don't steal your sister's brush, right, kind of thing, you know, but then as you get older, sometimes there's a modification of what's true or what's moral or what's valuable, and so it's questioning that. It makes you question this. Now, this card represents Gabriel, the archangel, and Gabriel is in charge of messages from Spirit, and so, you know, oftentimes angels are trying to give you messages from Spirit. So I'll give myself as an example. When I was in my 20s and being raised Catholic, and I had a boyfriend, and I'd fallen in love with this boyfriend, and I had this whole moral thing going on. It's like, well, you know, I'm in love with somebody and I want to have sex with somebody, but I'm not really ready to marry somebody, and oh God, am I this really bad person? Like, am I this really morally bad person? And you have to battle what you were told and what you believe to find out an answer. And what the angels told me, and this is my personal value system, they said, what is wrong, what is immoral is when you use somebody for your own pleasure, but don't really love and don't really care about them and don't really want to connect. Like, so there are people out there that just want to fuck you and leave you. Do you know what I mean? And that's not okay, because you're using somebody and they have feelings. And so it's really about, am I really caring about this person? Do I care enough about this person that I want to really try to make something work? Am I loving them, or am I just getting my own needs met? Right? And that became the new moral compass for me personally. Was like, okay, my new moral compass is if I'm going to have sex with somebody, I know I'm going to know them for the rest of my life. I'm going to care about them for the rest of my life. You know, if they call me up and I'm not with them, I'm still going to care about them. I'm still going to try and help them. I'm still going to try and be with them. You know, this is somebody that's important to me. You know, it's not like you just use people and discard them, kind of. Now, sometimes they don't want anything to do with you, but it's about where you come from inside yourself, okay?